Hello, welcome back to your final lesson of this week. Tomorrow you are completing your assessment, so today we are going to look at the final question 5. Before we get into today's lesson, can you please make sure that you have your question 5 response from the 29th of January? As always, if you don't have it or you didn't complete this question 5, just email me and I will send you a copy that you can work on throughout today's lesson. Pause the video and make sure you have your question 5 in front of you, please. Okay, before we get into it, just a reminder that if you're accessing this lesson during your timetabled slot or before, that I am going to be on a Teams call from 11:15 to 12:15 today. Please come and say hi, ask some questions about the assessment, ask for some feedback, seek advice about English or anything that you need to ask me, come and join. The Teams link should have been sent out to you via email. If you don't have that link, just let me know and I will forward that to you. Okay, so today we are looking at question 5. So pause the video now and copy down the title, date and LO. I've just realised that the learning objective has question 4. So just make sure you change that to question 5. Pause and copy that down, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to complete the do now. And again, it is a question 1. So let's have a look at this extract. The jungle was high and the jungle was broad. Sounds like music and flying tents filled the sky, and those were pterodactyls soaring with huge grey wings. I've hunted tiger, wild boar, buffalo, elephant, but now this is it, said Eccles. I'm shaking like a kid. Ah, said Travis. Everyone stopped. Travis raised his hand. Ahead, he whispered, in the mist. There he is. There's his Royal Majesty now. The jungle was wide and full of twitterings, rustlings, murmurs, and sighs. This question 1 says, list 4 things from this part of the text about the jungle. Pause the video and complete this question 1 in the way that you've been taught now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to make purple pen corrections. As always, make any corrections that you need to ensure that you have a full 4-mark response on your paper. If you're not sure if some of your answers would have got a mark, just let me know in an email and I can check those for you. So, the exam board would have given marks for the jungle was high, broad, wide, big, musical sounds filled the sky, the sound of flying tents or pterodactyls filled the sky, it was noisy and loud, pterodactyls soared in the air, it was misty in the jungle was full of twitterings, rustling, murmurs and sighs, there is a dinosaur or a T-Rex. Pause the video now and make sure you have any corrections down in purple pen that you need. Okay, so today we're looking at question 5. So before we get into it, let's look at the examiner report. Just a reminder that this is a document produced by the exam board after the exam series to provide teachers and students with comments about things that achieved marks and also things that need to be done better. So AQA always promote the importance of planning, particularly to ensure that the paragraphs are linked and kind of ideas and themes are developed throughout the piece. Sentence forms need to be varied. You need to do simple, compound or complex sentences, which we're going to look at later, and you also need to use your fronted adverbials and discourse markers effectively. Comma splicing continues to be an issue. We have looked at comma splicing since year 9, and we're going to continue to work on it. Remember, a comma splice is where you join 2 independent clauses with a comma, and remember that it can be fixed with a full stop, a conjunction or a semicolon. Comma splicing is an issue that they have noticed for a few years now, so try not to fall into that trap. So, what did we do well? There was a really strong use of the structure and a checklist. I'm really sad that I'm not delivering this question in person because it's one of my favourite things to teach, and I know that you would probably enjoy it, but you've been engaging with the lessons really well and some of the stuff you've produced is really excellent. So what I need you to do now is pause this video, open the document on Show My Homework title question 5 checklist, which looks like this, and then come back to the video, please. Okay, you should have this document open. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to use the checklist to label anything that you have missed in your response to ensure that you've included all of the criteria. The reason I'm asking you to label anything that you've missed is because it would take less time than to label everything that you did include. So let me show you what I mean. This is a response. This is only one paragraph that I'm going to show you just to model for you what I would like you to do. This is this student's zoom out paragraph. So let's read it. That morning, fear had demolished the train beside the seaside. Excellent personification there. Opaque white tsunami waves clashing onto out-of-control train like a group of unstoppable torpedoes. Simultaneously, the stone-grey clouds covered the ultramarine blue sky like a paintbrush painting over the milky white canvas. Lovely. This change of weather created a windy atmosphere, causing the maple leaves laid down on the ground to thrust through the air. The powerful structure of the train, made from polished titanium, protected the passengers from being penetrated by the colossal waves. Foam touching the weak plastic windows, making it the bigger problem. The rusty train tracks made it harder for the train to remain stable. So, I'm going to look at the zoom out checklist. So I started 3 sentences with fronted adverbials. Let me have a look. They have done that. I'm just going to highlight it. You don't need to do this, but it's just for my benefit and to show you what I want you to do. That morning they have done simultaneously, and they are missing one. So that's something we're going to add in a minute. They describe the mood of the scene using personification and an interesting verb. I know they've done that because that is there. I'm going to highlight that a bit off. Describe the weather ×3 once using a simile. They've done the waves here, the clouds here, and then they've talked about the leaves here. And they've actually used 2 similes, here and here. Describing 3 main items in the scene. They have described the powerful structure of the train, and then the foam, and also the rusty train tracks. So they've done that one here. Have they used 3 lots of colour vocab? They've used ultramarine blue sky. They have used maple leaves. And I don't think they've used another one. They've said white tsunami waves, but they haven't actually added a kind of better word for white. So, oh, here we go, milky white canvas. Whoever's response this is, they're probably like, Madam, I did. And have they described a character's movement towards one of the main items? No, they haven't. Right, so they are missing a fronted adverbial. So I'm just going to label off this 1 times fronted adverbial. Please ignore my handwriting. You know that I struggle to use this pen. And also they haven't described a character's movement. All in all, it's a really, really strong zoom out paragraph, but they are missing a few steps. So in the way that I've done with this example, you need to do the same. You need to go through each of the checklists for all of the paragraphs, zoom out, zoom in, character change and challenge. You need to figure out what you have done. No need to highlight it, but you do need to label in purple pen anything that you have missed. Pause the video and complete that task now, please. Okay. If you're back, that means that you've labelled what you've missed and we are ready to move on to what we can improve. So the first thing is I noticed that there was an over-reliance on my models, which I understand. Those are the things that we go off. That is what I use to teach you, but we can't just change a few words and produce our own response. You're not going to have my models in front of you in the exam, so we need to avoid over-reliance on them to ensure that you can generate unique and imaginative ideas. So what you're going to do for me now is you're going to copy and complete these language devices below. This is going to help you think imaginatively and create your own ideas instead of just using mine, even though mine are great, we know. So these are some similes. these are the beginnings of some metaphors, and these are some sentence frames to help you write examples of personification. Anywhere that you see dots in these answers, you need to add in your ideas. So the wind, something like a something. The sea is a something. An irritating alarm clock, a verb there, as it woke me up. So what did the irritating alarm clock sound like? Pause the video, copy and complete the similes, the metaphors, and the personification now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means that you should have 3 similes, 3 metaphors, and 3 personifications complete. I really, really look forward to reading some of these. And the second EBI that I want us to focus on is including a variety of sentence structures. As I mentioned earlier, this is something that the examiner reports highlights as an issue. So let's recap the different sentence structures. You should have done these at primary school, maybe in like year 7 and 8, but we definitely need to recap. So a simple sentence is a single independent clause. A compound sentence is 2 independent clauses. Remember, 2 independent clauses you do not join with a comma. A complex sentence is an independent clause and 1 or more dependent clauses. On the screen now, I'm going to flash up some example sentences. As the boy munched their greasy pizza, they realised how delectable it was. The disobedient teen sauntered towards the park. The silk blanket was luxurious and the velvet cushion was splendid. What you need to do now is you need to copy down simple sentence, match it up with the simple sentence, compound sentence, write the compound sentence next to it, and then complex sentence, and finally write the complex sentence next to it. Pause the video and complete this task now, please. Okay, so you should have matched up the example sentences to the correct sentence type. So I'm going to correct a few on the screen. Make sure that you make any corrections that you need to in purple pen. A simple sentence is a single independent clause. This one here is the independent clause. There's no conjunction such as and, but, or so, and there's no punctuation splitting any clauses up. Compound sentence is 2 independent clauses. The hint for this is probably looking for a conjunction, and so it's this one here because they combine and. The reason it's 2 independent clauses is because the silk blanket was luxurious, makes sense on its own, and the velvet cushion was splendid also makes sense on its own, but a conjunction is used to join that up. Remember, you do not use a comma there. So finally, you have the complex sentence, which is this one here. Now, pause the video and make sure that you have the right sentence matched to the right sentence type. And then I'm just going to briefly explain to you on the next slide about complex sentences. Okay, if you're back, that means that you have the correct sentence next to the correct sentence type. So, just to clarify about complex sentence, it's an independent clause and 1 or more dependent clauses, but it can look different. So this is a complex sentence, and this is a complex sentence. The key thing to remember is that an independent clause will always make sense on its own. It doesn't need any additional information. So have a look at the first one. As the boys munched their greasy pizza, they realised how delectable it was. The independent clause is this part. The second one, they realised how delectable their greasy pizza was as they munched it. The independent clause is this part. The dependent clause doesn't make sense unless it is linked to an independent clause. So, as the boys munched their greasy pizza, and as they munched it. Those are the differences between an independent and a dependent clause. Independent makes sense on its own. Dependent needs something else next to it, in front of it, in between it, to make it make sense. We are going to do a little bit of work on independent and dependent clauses, but it's important to clarify this now. So, what I would like you to do now is go to your question 5 response and improve the structure of one sentence in each paragraph in purple pen. So 1 sentence in each paragraph means a total of 4 sentences improved. So I'm going to show you how I would improve this response here. A feeling of thrill sprung into the boy's excited mind. Slowly he leaned through the window as the wave got closer. That one's all right because there's a fronted adverbial and there's a conjunction there. His eyes opened wide as the wave struck the train. Again, a conjunction there. The train kept moving forward, but the waves reaching on his window. Again, a conjunction there, so that one's fine. Immediately, he shut down the window in shock and looked out of his wet window. Again, there's a conjunction and a fronted adverbial there. I'm not going to change that. The last one, the excitement ended as the water drops from his window. Yeah, that one's all right. They're all a bit unique. They were all different, but there's not a variety of sentence structures. There's no different punctuation. There's no commas really, apart from fronted adverbials. So I'm going to change this one here. Grammatically, it makes sense, but I can make it a little bit more interesting. And the way I'm going to do that is simply I'm going to grab my purple pen and I'm going to write as the water, I think that's meant to say from the window, water drops from the window, comma, the excitement ended. So all I've done for this sentence is I've separated the clauses, this clause, and this clause, and I've just changed it around so it looks a little bit more interesting. So the sentence structure is different and varied. Pause the video now and do the same thing for one sentence in each of your paragraphs. Okay. If you're back, that means that you have completed your Purple Pen sentence structure improvements. And I just want to give you an overview of the assessment tomorrow and how you should approach it. So the assessment is going to take up your Thursday lesson and your Friday lesson because it's a long paper. So at the beginning, you should spend 10 minutes at the start reading the questions and reading and annotating the extract. The reading section, so questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, should take you 50 minutes to complete. So question 1 should take you no more than 5 minutes. Question 2 and 3 are worth 8 marks, so they shouldn't take you any more than 10 minutes. And question 4, I would give yourself 25 minutes, as it is worth 20 marks. With the 10 minutes of reading and the 50 minutes for questions 1 to 4, that will take you Thursday's lesson. Then on Friday's lesson, you want to finish it off by spending 45 minutes to complete question 5. Remember that 45 minutes includes planning, writing, and then proofreading to check your work. Feel free to write this down as a reminder by pausing the video now. Okay, so you should now be ready to submit your work. The same as yesterday, please make sure that you submit the work that you did under today's date and title, so your do now and also your similes, metaphors and personification, but also send me a picture of your Purple Pen corrections and any notes you made on your question 5 response. Tomorrow you'll start your assessment, so I'm not going to see you in a lesson or speak to you in a lesson until Monday. You will do incredibly in this assessment. You know that I think highly of every single one of you, so just do your absolute best. It's your first go. Make sure you stick to the timings, make sure you stick to the structures and the checklist that I have taught you, and take your time and do not panic. You will be fine. Best of luck, and I will speak to you next week.